So as you know, I'm here for the EA positions. So as a talent acquisitions, I think what is the most important is the candidate experiences. So one of the examples that I can think on top of my head is that we have this Singapore niche role, which is what we call the IT EA specialist. And as you know, in Singapore, it's a very limited candidate pools, right? So in order for us to find a very specific skills, it's not really easy. So a lot of like this very limited talents, they are pre-packed with the current project. So we have a different hiring manager which is located all the way in the US. So time zones, we have about 13 hours differences. So and also
pause for a while. Okay, so I'm going to pause it in between just to explain a bit. So now you're listening as a participant, okay, not as an interviewee. Okay. What is your comment on what she has explained so far?
Using we.
She used we. You all notice she used we 3 times. We, our, we. Right.
Who's schedule? Rachel.
So by right, when you hear we, I have to interrupt.
Yeah, I have to
so I didn't want to interrupt because I want to see whether you caught it or not.
Right.
Sometimes we are so caught up with the story, we also don't realize. But so as an interviewer, you must have a sharp ear now. Okay, use we. The things that she has said, is it codable or not so far? Remember codable? Is it something she did? Is it something that happened in the past? Codable or not?
There's no evidence, but there is the positions, right?
There's a position, but there's no evidence of what you have done.
Yet to.
Correct. You're only describing the scenario in Singapore and the challenges they have.
Yeah.
So there's no evidence.
There's no specific example that your customer is happy with your services.
Correct. Based on from what you have done.
Yes.
I want to evaluate what you have done, right?
Yes.
So my form is still blank, no evidence.
Fail.
Right.
Right.
Right. So this is where, if the candidate is a very good talker and loves to talk, example like you, right? And like me also, we can go on a long story and not give any quotable information. So you must it's okay to interrupt. Okay. So this is how I interrupt. Okay, I will say, okay, interesting, Anis, thank you. Can you zoom into one particular example and tell us what did you do in that example?
So in that situation, right, the candidates, we couldn't find the right timing for us to.
When you say we, who is we? You see how I interrupted? When you say we, who is we?
So in the team itself, for ASEAN market, there's 2 of us. So normally, the way that we work in Smith Nephew, there will be a TA specialist that will be in front for the business, and then there will be a sourcing who will be doing the back end. So the we that I'm referring to is myself.
Okay.
But in the team, I would work alongside with our TA specialists. Normally for candidate experiences or candidate communications, I'll be the one who's responsible for it.
Okay.
So in that situation, right, going back to that, so we are trying to, I'm trying to find the suitable timing. So I had to go and check with the TA leads at that time, can we find at least one timing that works? There's a lot of hiccups, but successfully, we have managed actually to convince the candidates and we managed to close the positions. And in fact, the candidate is pretty happy in the company itself.
Okay, good. Pause for a while. Okay. So number one, you notice after a while she started using I because she knows, right? So most people will realize, okay, you want to look at what I do, so they will stop using we, they will go to I.
But what if even though we already asked like what do you mean by the we refer to we, and then the candidates still continue using we,
Still continue probing.
Yeah.
Still continue probing. Because if they keep using we, and if you don't probe it up, it's not quotable. If it's not quotable, that means you cannot use that to evaluate the person. So worst case scenario is, I had one interview where I had to correct the person for half an hour. He kept using we. Who is we? What was your role? Half an hour.
Yeah.
Then only he got it. Then he realized, okay, I have to start talking in I. It took him half an hour to get there. Most people will be faster than that. Like you, after a few times, you realize, I. You know it. Okay. But again, so based on the story we've heard from Anis, you had this. There were challenges, but you managed to secure the role. Okay. Anything quotable or not so far? Not yet. It's just overall. So a normal interview will say, okay, Anis is good at talent recruitment, and they give scoring. As a BI interview, not enough. That's just an overview. So you have to go deeper. right? So what I would do is, okay, thanks, that sounds like a very interesting story, Alice. Okay, can you tell me a bit more exactly what happened and how did this whole thing start from the beginning to the end? I want to hear details. Okay, so can you bring me back to the beginning of this? What happened and what were the challenges you faced throughout this?
Quick question.
Yeah.
In that interview stages, right, normally as a candidate perspective, are we allowed to clarify back with the interviewer from which process are you referring to?
Yeah, can. It's like a conversation, right? So tell me more, right? Usually I just say, tell me more about that.
Alright. So quick
Okay.
is, if you don't mind, I just want to clarify, when you're asking me to share on the whole processes, which processes are you referring? Is it just surrounding the challenges itself, or the whole story from the beginning?
Okay, why don't we zoom into one of the, you said there were a few challenges along the way. Can you zoom into one of the biggest challenges you faced here during this
Sure.
recruitment, and what?
I would say the first challenges is sourcing for the candidates for that specific role.
Right.
So we have posted, we have
What was the role again?
the IT-AV specialist.
IT-AV.
IT-AV, yeah.
What does it stand for? IT?
IT audiovisual
Oh,
specialist.
IT-AV.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is pretty common, the terms itself, but it's pretty niche in the Smith Nephew
Okay.
training because it's medical devices for lab settings, so it's part of like trainings slash normal,
Right.
IT itself. So one of the role that we are trying to find is both good in IT technical as well as an audio visual. So finding the candidates is tough, and one of the length that we have to go all the ways that
When you say we, who was we?
myself,
What was
I
your,
mean,
okay, what was your role in this? Yeah.
as a software, so
Okay.
I'm the software to that.
Okay.
And we have posted, again, I have posted, and I have actually tried to find them in the normal career sites, right?
Okay.
It's not easy again, so I have to go through in depth through other portals. So I've managed to put it again in the My Career Future, that's pretty normal job portal. It's still very hard to find them, and I've managed to find this candidate.
Right.
He's not a passive, so basically he's a passive candidate.
He's what
And
candidate?
He's a passive candidate.
Passive candidate.
Yeah, he's not really looking out at the point of
Ah,
time.
okay,
There's
okay.
a lot of convincing, trying to gauging. Smith Nephew is not really a common name,
Right.
especially if you're coming from a different industry.
Mm.
And he actually come from a different industry, so we have tried so far, but I have managed to convince him, and he's actually interested to understand more on that, and I managed to book some slot with him, and then try to engage and share a couple of backgrounds about Smith Nephew and everything. So he's interested to have a conversation. I think that's the toughest, one of the toughest thing. Selling your company to a candidate is not easy, right? Especially they're not really looking out. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Okay, so now I hear the challenge. The challenge is finding the right candidate.
Mhm.
Found the candidate, convincing the person to apply for the job.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to zoom in. So that sounds very interesting. Can you go? So you notice I always refer. That's very good. That's very interesting, right? And I show interest because I am genuinely interested. I'm curious. How did you do it? So you notice I come from that angle, right? I'm not interrogating. What did you say? What did you do? Who was there? What was the problem? I'm not interrogating her.
Yeah.
I'm actually, if I were to meet you in a cafe and I know you're in TA, I would ask you the same way, right? Hey, how did you? So I would ask something like this. Go back to that conversation you had with this candidate. How did you? What did you say to him? And what was your conversation with him like?
So one of the questions that he asked, right, is that what can you guys offer at this point of time? So I'm checking in with him again. I asked him what actually that you wanted, right? Is there specific things that you wanted to explore? So he said he came from IT types of industry, so he's interested in medical devices because as you know, COVID hits, medical devices, healthcare is the only industry that's thriving. So that is something that he's interested in. So that's where I start selling, what we do, what we actually encourage. And only then he's actually pretty open about it.
Right.
So he said, oh, if you don't mind, share a little bit more what you guys did. And when I say, oh, we've actually been in the market for more than 100 years, right? We started with this, all the way back in World War, we started with dressing, and he actually got engaged with that. And he started asking me, oh, then tell me about the roles itself, what are we doing right now? And I can see from that conversation, he's interested to learn how he can actually contribute to that specific project. So, which fits for this because it is a setup. Still it is setting up,
Right.
which you can actually bring in all of your effort and you can actually see, this is what you can bring back. So that's the type of conversation that we had. So it's easy to start selling your company in this position once you get that.
Right. And then what did you say after that? Once he started to show interest, what did you say and how did you respond?
Oh, he asked a lot of like technical questions. You know, what system do you guys use? So in our case, it is still a setup. So I go him back. That's where we actually need your experiences, because you've already explored a lot of system, and we're trying to set it up. So that's where you came in. So he's more interested with that because he feels like he have some input and he will be able to make up the decision itself. So that's one of the things that he want to explore.
Okay, pause for a while. Okay, so that story, that whole story just now, was that a lot more interesting than the first one you shared?
Yes.
Why? Why more interesting?
The challenges and how she overcome it, how
The
to
challenges,
sell it,
how she overcome,
and how the candidate say yes at the end.
how to get the candidate to say yes.
Results.
What she said, I was interested in what did you say to him? How did you sell the organization? Right? And all that, do you think she can make that out and fake it on the spot or not? That whole story?
No.
No, very hard. It would be
Very
very
smooth.
hard. Because it's very smooth and there's a lot of detail. What she said, what he said, what he responded, what she
Very smooth.
on the spot you want to create, it's not easy. Not easy. Right? So you know she actually did it. Right? Not her clique. Okay. And what were some of the competencies you picked from her so far? What are the good qualities?
Never give up.
Never give up, number one, even though the person not very interested.
Initiative.
Took initiative,
Sell the selling part, the organizations.
selling the organization. I like one thing that, do you notice what did she say when the guy asked him, when the person asked her a question? What can you offer? What did she answer?
That is a new setup you can.
Even before.
What do you expect?
Yeah, she asked him back. Instead of answering, she asked him back. That's a very smart way of handling customers. You don't sell them, you find out what they want first. Right? So instead of I tell you what I can offer, why don't you tell me what you're looking for? And the guy talks a bit, then now you zoom in, he wants this. So I zoom into medical devices, I zoom into, opportunity in COVID. And that's how you got it. So that's smart. I don't know whether you did that consciously or unconsciously when you talk to him.
I'm still girl.
Still, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that was very smart. So so that's how you engage with customers. And that's how you influence customers. You find out what they want and then you zoom in. Okay? So that is very so you see from hearing how she handled one customer, you can see all these competencies. So if you were to hire someone like Anis and you ask her to hire a new position next time, do you think she will be able to do it?
Yes.
Right, she can because she has done it before.
Yes.
Right. Creatures of habit, she will use the same method, she will have the same competency. Okay. So very good. So let's come back to the conversation.